Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. Today I'm going to tell you all about my new machine, the Janome 3000 Coverpro. But before I do, don't forget to hit subscribe in the links below so that you can see more great sewing tips. So before I start the review, I just wanted to say that I did purchase the machine. I haven't got any affiliation or any other links with Janome, so I wanted to just give you a really honest review of the machine, straight out of the box, to tell you what I thought about it. I got my machine from a show called the Knitting and Stitching Show, and it meant that I could try out the machine next to some others. So I tried Juki's, Babylock's and the Janome. I picked the Janome in the end based on the fact that it was really easy to use and a good price. I did love the Babylock machines. They have a really simple air threading, which this machine doesn't, although it's fairly simple to thread. But they also have functions like auto tension, but you have to pay the price. It was nearly double the price of this one for the Euphoria, but the Janome won for me, and that's the machine I got. So my first tip is really to read the instructions. The instructions are really important. It tells you how to set up the machine. There's also a DVD video that comes with it, and I'd recommend watching the DVD because it has some great hints and tips on how to use the machine. So first of all, I'm going to tell you about some of the features of this new machine. One of the things I really liked was this little light that just pops out of the top to give you a better view of your sewing. There's also an automatic needle threader. You can set it for the left, middle or right needles, and it makes getting that thread through the needles much easier. There's also a switch to change from regular or heavy fabrics to fine fabrics. If you've used a Coverpro before, you'll find the threading really similar. The looper thread has a handy instructions on the back, so you can just follow those and put it through the looper really easily. There's a knob to pull out the looper so it's easy to access, and you can then just push it back into position. As you'll expect, you have the dials for differential and for the stitch length. So the differential helps you if the fabric puckers or stretches out, and the stitch length, quite obviously, is the stitch length. And the main dial has a little mark on it which you can use when you want to get the needles to the top position. The pressure foot is set for regular sewing when it arrives. You can have a look on the pressure foot dial. There's a little line that lines up with the top of the machine, and it shows you where it should be for regular sewing. And you can adjust it obviously if you have thicker or thinner fabric to suit your needs. So when the machine arrived, it was already set up for regular sewing. It was even threaded as well, so I thought I'll get it out of the box and just give it a go. And this was the result. A perfect cover stitch first time. Now, one of the great things about this machine is there are two ways to end your stitching. So this is the first time I've ever chained off a cover stitch. It was quite exciting, and as you can see, it was very easy. You can just then knot the tail, or if you're sewing in the round, you sew the threads through to the back with a hand needle and then tie them off. You can also do the age-old method of pulling the threads to the front, snipping, and then pulling the fabric to the back. On this new machine, it took me a little while to get it right. You can see on the first attempt I get a little bit stuck, but after I tried it a few times it was fairly straightforward. But again, read the instructions, it tells you exactly what to do. Now, one of the most exciting things about this machine was sewing over a thick seam. I took a piece of fabric and just created a simple seam down the edge, and then I folded it so that I got a bulky seam. I did this on purpose, and then when I sewed over it with a Janome, as you can see, it went straight across, no problem. Now this will be really exciting for many people who get skipped stitches over seams. I also did the snip and fold method too. You can see I did it here to flatten the seam. Each side lays in opposite direction, and both were fine. And now comes the top cover stitch. Now, I've never ever top cover stitched before, so I thought it was going to be quite complicated, but actually it was fairly straightforward. You have a little lever that you pull down and the arm comes down like this. And the threading is pretty straightforward too. Again, follow the instructions because it really does tell you everything you need to get this threaded properly. And once it's threaded, you just turn a few times to get some hand stitches, snip away the excess, and then off you go. And this was the first time I've ever top cover stitched, and it was right over a thick seam. And this was the result. And that's without playing with any settings. Now, on to the dreaded skipped stitches. I did try to get a skip stitch a few ways. I made bulky seams, I did several layers of fabric. The only time I got a skip stitch, you can see it here, was when I stopped. When I stopped, the needles were raised. And then I started again a few moments later. Now this didn't happen all the time, but it did happen a couple of times. As I said before, I use this machine straight out of the box, and it comes with universal needles. But on stretch, you need to use the right needles. So you need to swap them for ones that say SUK. And I had no skip stitches at all then. But even if you only have the universal needles on you, I did find a way to make it work. So if you're getting skip stitches because of this, stopping and then starting again, try using the hand dial. So if you stop and the needles are up, use the hand dial to turn a few stitches and wait until the needles are back down and then restart. And that fixed it for me. I didn't get skip stitches after that. So all in all, I'd say I'm pretty impressed. It's a machine that allows me to do top cover stitch, triple cover stitch, regular cover stitch, and of course chain stitch. I really love it, and I hope to report back later on some more sewing tips with the Janome 3000.